Hello loves, welcome back to the channel. In today's tutorial we'll be learning how to make a short pant with an elastic waistline. So after that, by making a starting point. Now the elastic waistband I'm working with is 1 inch long, so I'm going to be adding some allowances to accommodate the elastic band. So I'm adding 2.5 inches allowance just to be on the safe side. You get, so I'm adding 2.5 inches allowance. So I'm just going to go ahead and rule that out. I'm making this for a 4-year-old, so these are her own measurements. So try to take your own measurements while you make your pattern. Right, so I'm cutting on the starting point. It was just to give me an even straight line. So the reason I added 2.5 inches is one, I need to fold in the elastic band. Now before I do that, I need to have ½ inch upwards, which explains the ½ inch. The ½ inch is just to fold in so that the rough edges of the fabric won't be showing. So you can see, you just fold in by ½ inch first, then put it the elastic band and just fold in. You can see, so this will totally cover the elastic band. Then it gave me 1 inch at the top of my pattern. You can see, so I have just the elastic band of 1 inch. So it means that whatever measurement I'm going to be adding, you can see if I measure from here, I just have 1 inch. So it means that I'm going to start all my measurements at 1 inch, placing my tape at 1 inch on the line that I have just made, okay, on the lower line. Remember I added 2.5 inches allowance, so alternatively you can just add 1.5 inches allowance, okay, then take your normal measurements after that 1.5 inch mark. Do you get? But I'm explaining this so that you understand clearly, so that you don't it's better you have excess allowance than you have a shortage. Now because of what I have just explained to you, I'm placing my tape on 1 inch on that lower line that I have made. Then I'll mark the length of the short I'm working with. Right, so after that I'm going to extend it into a horizontal line, and I'm also adding 2 inches hemming allowance to hem or fold the bottom of the shirt. Now the next thing I'll do is to mark the crotch length. Now to get the crotch length, sit the child or the person on a flat surface and measure the distance from her waist to the top of the chair. Okay, and that is just what I have done to get my own crotch line. Now remember that I have 1 inch up there, so I'm still placing my tape at 1 inch, and I'm marking her crotch length or her crotch depth, which is 6 inches. Okay, so I'm just going to rule a line across that point. So this is the crotch depth. Remember I said place the child or the person on a flat surface and take the measurement from where she wants the trouser to start to the top of the chair. So having done that, I'm going to label this is the waist, this is the crotch, and this is the length of the shorts plus my hemming allowance. Now the next thing is to determine the hip length. Now if this was for an adult, I'm going to step up by 2 inches or 2.5 inches above the crotch line to get the hip depth. But because it's for a child, I'm going to step up by 1.5 inches. Approximately you can even do 1 inch, but 1.5 inches works just well. Now before I mark out the hip length, I'm just going to divide her waist measurement by 4 and add to her hip measurement by 4, sorry, hip measurement, divide the hip by 4 plus 2 inches and mark that on the crotch length. So you can see I've marked that the hip measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches on the crotch depth. On the waistline, I'll mark the same thing, the hip measurement divided by 4 plus 2 inches. I'm not repeating the waistline here because it's going to be an elastic trouser. It will have an elastic band, so the excess is going to help scrunch the short with the elastic. So remember I said step up by 1.5 inches or just 1 inch above the crotch line to get the hip depth. So that is what I've just done. So that becomes my hip depth. So I'll just extend the line from the crotch to the waist, making sure it runs across the hip as well. So that is what I've just done. Now I'm just going to go ahead and mark in 2 inches or 1.5 inches for my crotch extension. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and use my curve ruler to connect. Now what should also guide you along this crotch extension is to also go ahead and mark the thigh circumference or the lap divided by 2, the thigh measurement or the lap divided by 2. So I'm trying to do that now and I can see that it matches up. Okay, so that should also guide you. If you don't want, or if you don't know what to use as your crotch extension, just mark your lap or your thigh measurement divided by 2 on that point. Remember to add your 2 inch seam allowance. Okay, so I've just done that and I connected it to the end of the pattern. Now I'm adding 1/2 inch across the crotch area just to sew the seam together. Now because I want this to be a little bit tapered, I stepped in by 1.5 inches and I'm just going to connect it to the crotch just to taper the bottom of the shirt a little bit. But if you want it big like this, or if you want it to be the same as the hip, that's perfectly okay. So I'm just going to note that I'll cut through the part that I tapered inwards. And ladies and gentlemen, you're done with cutting the front pattern of this short with elastic band, and trust me, it is super easy. You can use this method for an adult, whatever measurements you are working with. Okay, it's the same procedure. Okay, nothing is different, it's actually the same procedure. So this is my front pattern. Now to get your back pattern, it's just like more just like bread and butter. You're just going to place this exact pattern on another fabric. I'm just placing it on my remnant pattern. You know, we don't waste anything here now, so you just have to make do with what we have. So when I place that on the crotch line, I'm going to extend by 1.5 inches. This is a child. Okay, I'll just extend it by 1.5 inches, then taper it down to where I have the front opening. Okay, the front inseam, just like so. You can see, just taper it down there, and every other thing is the same. Like I said, the back is super easy, like bread and butter. So before I just go ahead and start drafting the back, I'm going to place the front pattern on my fabric. Remember, you need to fold the fabric into 2, which I have also done. I've already done that. Fold my fabric into 2, place the front pattern on it, and make sure that I cut exactly everything I have on my pattern. No allowances, because every allowance that I have needed or I may need, I have added that to my pattern already. Okay, so the reason I worked on a pattern is because I'm working on a chiffon fabric, and because I'm making a tutorial, I want you to see exactly all the markings and measurements I am taking. So just make sure that you cut out exactly what you have on the pattern. So now that I have my pattern, I'm just going to go ahead and sew across the crotch area with 1/2 inch. Remember, I added 1/2 inch allowance, so I just go ahead and stitch that area. Now for the back, place the front pattern on a fresh pattern paper, or alternatively you can use the remnant of your pattern paper. Just place the front pattern on it. I'm going to use pins to hold it down so that it doesn't move around. I need to get this accurately so that I don't have any excesses or have my pattern bigger than I want it to be. So I'm just using a pin or pins to hold it down. Now if you're watching till now, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being here on this channel. I really appreciate you. If you're new, I have a very big welcome, or I say a very big welcome to you, and to my returning subscribers, thank you for always showing up. Right, so I'm just going to trim off the excess, making sure that I have exactly the same thing on the sides. Now remember to add 1.5 inches or for your crotch extension at the back. Okay, then I make sure that every other thing remains the same. Taper in the crotch extension to the length of the front shirt, just like so, and every other thing is the same. Okay, so like I said, the back is bread and butter and sardine and mayonnaise and every other thing you want to add to it, right? So I'm talking about pattern making or pattern drafting. We're not talking about food here. So if you're long through, you are just doing please, I beg. All right, so this right here is no longer the front pattern. This is now the back pattern. Now, so if you want to make another shot for this same size, you just have to take away the pieces of fabric at the back, use the front to cut out your pattern, then do what I have just done on your fabric. So I'll just go ahead and cut exactly what I have on this back pattern, because every allowances have been added. So right here, this is my back pattern. So I'll just take out the pattern, and the same thing I did to the front, I'm just going to stitch the crotch area with 1/2 inch allowance, which have already been added to this pattern. So I've gone ahead to stitch the crotch for the front and the back, and while at it, I also make sure that I serge all around the fabric. Now what you can do is to also serge the upper part using that 1/2 inch allowance that we left. Okay, so but alternatively you can also leave that. So what I've done now is to just hold the crotch, like I said, with 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now what I want to do is to sew the sides. Now remember, I added my 2 inches seam allowance, but I have used 1/2 inch to overlock the edges of my seam or my sides. Okay, so I'm just going to hold the fabric or the short down with 1.5 inches seam allowance. Just run a straight line. Okay, we're not shaping anything, no waist to hip, nothing, just run a straight stitch. Okay, and this is very easy. Like, this is the easiest short you can make. Right, so I've sewn one side. I'll also go ahead and sew the other side, repeating the same thing I have just done. I have serged with my half inch seam allowance, so I'm remaining, or I'm left with 1.5 inches seam allowance. So that is what I have remaining. I'm going to go ahead and stitch down on 1.5 inches seam allowance. Now when you're done with this, you're not going to just go ahead and sew the inseam. I need to hem the bottom of the short first. That way you're going to get the hemming very neatly. Okay, people have issues at hemming the bottom of their shorts, and that is because they sew the inseam first before folding. So what I will just do is to just go ahead and fold 1 inch in two places. Remember, I left 2 inches hemming the allowance, so I'll first fold in 1 inch, then fold another 1 inch, go pin it down at the middle, also pin at the two sides just to hold it down for stability, or I can always use my fingers to hold it down. Then I'm just going to go ahead and hem the bottom of the short. Now I'm also going to repeat this exact process on the other side, but for clarity purpose and for the sake of the tutorial, I'm just going to show that again, so that in case you're skipping the tutorial, you don't skip the whole process of hemming the bottom of the trouser, or the short rather, sorry. So now that I'm done doing that, exactly what I have just done, I'm repeating myself. Wow, what am I doing? Now always make sure you cut out your excess threads, very important, because you want your work to come out looking as beautiful as ever. So what I will just do again is to fold the bottom the other side. So I just hem the other bottom side. That's it. So now that we're done with that, I'm going to put the crotch together. Okay, middle part of the front meeting the middle part of the back, right side facing right side. The mid front and the mid back are going to match, okay, along the crotch area. You can see, so you're just going to make sure that you match that up, and I'm going to stitch that with half inch seam allowance. You get, so I'm just going to be stitching that with half inch seam allowance, and while I'm at it, I'm just cutting off my excess threads. So remember, let the midpoint of the crotch front match up with the midpoint of the back crotch, pin it together, and just sew along the seam using half inch seam allowance. So I'm just taking it to the machine like so. Remember, half inch seam allowance. You don't need to have any bulky seam around this area, because it's going to affect the length of your crotch. Okay, so just half inch seam allowance is fine. I hope you get that. So moving on, I've finished sewing the shorts. You can see, so the next thing, or the remaining thing, is to attach my elastic band. Now, different from the way we attach elastic bands, folding the elastic casing and use your safety pin to put the elastic through the waistband. I don't want to do that, so I want to cut out my elastic band. Now you're going to need your waist measurement. So the waist measurement for this person is 20 inches. So on my elastic band, I've marked 20 inches. Then I'm going to subtract 4 inches from my elastic band. You can see. So alternatively, take out 4 inches from your waist measurement, then cut that on your elastic band. So this is what I have. Her waist is 20 inches. Divide and subtracted, or if you subtract 4 inches, I'll be left with 16. So I have 16 inches as the length of this elastic band I'm holding. Now I'll fold that into two, and I'm just going to go ahead and stitch the other side. So you can see I have 8 inches if I fold it, meaning that the elastic band I'm holding is 16 inches long. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and stitch it down with like 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 of an inch. Okay, so that works perfectly. So just to close it up, I will take that out. Now this is where you should really pay attention. Okay, so now that I have sewn one side, I'm just going to go ahead and make a notch. Okay, or you're going to use your chalk to make a mark at that point. Because I'm making a tutorial, I'm going to make a notch so that you can see exactly what I'm doing. But if I was making this directly without filming, I'm just going to use my chalk to make those marks, because notching is going to sort of ruin my elastic band and it won't be so stretchy again. You see what I mean when I'm done sewing this short. So I'm holding it together like so. I've stitched one side. So what I'm just going to do is to fold it into two. You can see this is the part I've stitched, so I'll just fold it into two like this. You can see what I've done. So I'm just going to notch up and down. You can see on the two sides. This is one side. On the other side that I have folded, I'm still going to go ahead and notch it up and down. So I'm just going to have 4 notches at the end of the day. So you can see the first 2 notches and the other 2 notches. Now this is just going to help me place my elastic band, okay, properly on the top of my fabric, on my short. So remember that I have half inch that I was supposed to use to fold this elastic band. You get that normally if we are fixing the elastic band with a safety pin, you're just going to fold that in. So what I've done is to place one side of the notch, okay, on the middle part of the front, then place the other side of the notch on the other side. Remember I have notched it on 4 sides. Then this other notch, you can see it will go to this side. You can see that then the other side, which is the side that you stitched down, would go to the other side. So that's what I've just done to make notches and place them at the strategic points of the short, the 2 crotch area and the 2 sides. You get the front crotch area, the back crotch area, and the 2 sides. So that is why we had 4 notches, okay, so that it will distribute the elastic band evenly. So what I have done is to pin it half inch below my short. Okay, you can see what I'm doing. I'm pinning the elastic after half inch. You can see that. Okay, I'm coming down from half inch to pin the elastic. I think that explains it better. Okay, just come down by half inch. Remember that half inch is supposed to conceal the top for me. You get, so that is why I am pinning below the half inch at the upper part of the shorts. Now that I'm done doing that, I'm just going to stretch this out. Okay, then please make sure that you pin this so it's going to stabilize the elastic band to the fabric. Just hold it together. So now what I'm doing, I'll just go ahead and stretch it out and I'm going to start stitching. Okay, now I'm stitching on the elastic band. I'm stitching the elastic band to the shorts. So I'm starting from the upper part of the elastic band. So you can see at this point I'm not just going to stretch or increase the speed, so just sew around it. Now what you need to do is to be stretching out the elastic band while you sew. Remember we've pinned it on strategic places to spread the elasticity of the elastic band, but while you're at it you need to stretch it out because it's an elastic and it has to be stretched out. Do you get that? So now most of the elastic bands that they make now are not so stretchy, so if you can get the ones that are really stretchy, beautiful, but it's what we have all over in the market right now. So I'm just going to be stitching at the top at this point. No rush, gently, because remember we are leaving half inch at the top. Okay, so just to conceal the rough edges, and you're going to see what I mean by the time I am done or till I get to that point. Right, so just going to go ahead and stitch it all around. So having done that, I'll just go ahead and take out the pins. You can see what this looks like. Already it's already scrunching together. Now remember I have half inch, so I'm just going to fold it inward like this, then I fold the elastic band into the short. You can see, just fold the half inch like so. It's going to conceal the rough edges. You can see, then fold in the elastic band into the short like so. You can see, so it is concealing the elastic band. You won't be seeing that the elastic band is there, but it's inside there. It's concealing the rough edges and as well covering the elastic band. Okay, the remaining 1 inch there will cover the elastic band. So what I'm just going to do is to stitch on the lower part as well. So you can see, flip the half inch, then you fold the elastic band like so. Go ahead and pin that down. Then I'm just going to stitch at the lower side. Okay, just stitch at the lower part. So this is going to give you a little bit problem while you're sewing, but if you stretch it out you won't have any issues. Okay, so now that I've pinned that part out, in or down, I'm just going to make sure that I start sewing directly very close to the edge of the fabric like so. Okay, so you just start sewing. So now while you sew, you're just going to make sure that you stretch it out, folding the 1/2 inch, then folding the elastic band over, just like so. Okay, just like what I showed you before I pinned it down, okay, because the bulk of my work is being covered by the sewing machine. So you can see at this point I'm not rushing, gently, step by step, wayo wayo, obere obere. Do you get? Which other suffering, small small? I don't know how to say it in Hausa and Yoruba. All right, so just gently, okay. What you just do is to fold in the 1/2 inch first so it conceals the rough edges, then you fold the elastic band, okay, like I've shown us before. So just sew along it like so. You can see how much time it's taking me, and I'm not just going to speed it up, so that you see exactly how long it's taking me, so that when yours is taking that long, you not say no, they did it within 1 minute. Please, these things take time. It's just that because we are creating content, we tend to cut out some parts just so that the content doesn't get too long. But sewing content is not really like that, because if you cut it out, you're going to lose the value of the tutorial or the content you're creating, because people would lose out on some important parts that you think the person may not need, but that person actually needs that content or that particular part. So that is why I am not speeding this up, I'm not cropping it out. I want you to see how long this is taking me, so that when you're doing yours, you don't rush yourself. That is some of the things we do. You see a tutorial and you see that in 15 minutes this person made a corset dress and it's so beautiful, and you are putting yourself on a timeline to make yours in 15 minutes. Meanwhile, the tutorial or the making of that dress maybe took a week, but we compressed it. So you can see I've stitched it and it's all scrunchy. Now this additional step is optional, so you can go ahead and stitch at the upper part of the elastic band like so, okay, at the upper part of the short. This part is strictly optional. Once you are done folding in the elastic, you don't need to stitch again, okay, you're practically done. But over sabi me now, over sabi is just so that it will be as if we are sewing something, no, not as if we are sewing plenty things. Do you get? I just want to show myself, so it will look like some of these boxer pants that we see. So you can see, look at how scrunchy it is. So this is how my short came out. I'm actually done. It doesn't really take time, so I'm actually done. Now you can see my short is not as crunchy as it's supposed to be. Remember, I notched my elastic band, so doing that I lost some elasticity on the elastic band. So please try not to notch yours. So now this is what I have, and it came out super beautiful and it's still stretchy. So go ahead and try yours out and give me feedback. I love you, and I'll see you in my next tutorial. Stay safe. Bye.